Hi, my name's Chris. I'm one of the lecturers on the combined A-level in English Language and Literature at Kenilworth College. So I'm going to open with the question of how would I describe this subject? And I've done my best to boil it down to just 3 adjectives. And the first one is broad-ranging. So by its very nature, by the fact it is a combined A-level in both language and literature, it has a real breadth to it. A real breadth in terms of the variety of texts that you're going to study. We look at 3 literary texts. So we look at a novel, we look at a play, and we look at a collection of poetry. And I will go into more detail at the very end of this video for anyone who's really keen on finding out a bit more about those. But for now, in combination with those 3 literary texts, we also study some non-literary texts. So we study transcripts of interviews, newspaper articles, blogs, travel writing, a range of different genres. So if you're someone who has really enjoyed studying fiction, if you've really enjoyed studying drama and poetry or novels at school, but you're also quite interested in analysing language in its more kind of everyday, its more practical applications too, then this course could be a really good option for you because you'll get to do just that. The second adjective I would use would be creative. Creative, I think the subject is inherently creative because, and this is something that's maybe overlooked, is that to write a really good essay in a subject like English language and literature, you have to be creative because you're making creative connections all the time. Between, let's say, between a character who you've noticed is a mirror of another character in the play. It could be that you have spotted that there is a clear influence of some of the outside context, some of the background in society at the time has influenced the author on how they've presented us with a certain idea or portrayed a certain character. So all these ideas, you're making creative connections. So even at its heart, essay writing in this subject is creative. It's also creative in a further 2 ways. So one is the coursework. In the coursework, you're actually asked to produce 2 pieces of creative writing, so a piece of creative fiction and a piece of creative non-fiction. And students have produced some fantastic work for me this year, just as they have before. Some really, really creative, really original bits of writing based on their reading. So the coursework is creative, as is just the general essay writing in the way that you kind of combine and make creative connections between text and between elements of a text. It's also creative because in language and literature, a lot of the course is assessed not looking at each text separately, but looking at text in combination. So, for example, the novel that we look at, called The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald, we look at in comparison to a collection of poetry called The Wits and Weddings by Philip Larkin. So here you've got 2 great literary works. You've got 2 works which are full of explicit and implicit ideas. Just analysing those separately, taking them separately, there's so many of those creative connections you could make when you're analysing those texts separately. Put them together, you've almost got limitless possibilities in terms of the connections, in terms of the similarities or contrasts you could draw between the 2. So it's creative and it's broad-ranging. It's also analytical. So if you are going to do well in the A-level language and literature combined course, you need to enjoy analysis. So you need to have enjoyed analysing text previously in your GCSE language or your GCSE literature courses. Because, well, one, it is creative and I think you need to enjoy that creativity, but you need to also enjoy making those insights, enjoy kind of really learning about something, really enjoy enlarging your understanding of a text by really paying very, very close attention. And that is something we will another skill you will develop over the course is paying really close attention to detail and thinking about the effect of those things, those techniques, that word choice, whatever it might be, thinking about what is the effect of that. Which leads me quite nicely on to the next question, which is how will this course help you? And I would say in many ways. So firstly, it's going to help you during your time at college because it is a subject that will improve your essay writing, improve the fluency of your writing, but also improve the structure of your writing across all your different subjects because you're going to pick up those skills and you're naturally going to transfer them across. So even in, more sort of scientific based subjects, you're going to be doing some extended writing. So this absolutely is going to help. So it's going to help at college. It's also going to help at uni if you choose to go on to uni, because it is a really broad course. It is going to sort of help you to progress really smoothly onto a range of English-based courses. In my current year 2s, I've got students who are going on to do like a straight English literature degree. I've got a student who is going on to do a sort of journalism-based degree, and English Lang Lit, has the language and literature A-level, I should say, has set them up really well for that. Because it also teaches you skills of analysis, skills of written fluency, skills of structuring your writing, also skills of kind of self-reflexivity, so paying close attention to your ideas. It sets you up, I would argue, for any degree at university, because any degree, no matter the subject, you're going to have to do some extended writing. Finally, I've also got a student this year who has chosen not to go the uni route, but who's done fantastically well in language and literature this year, and he's nonetheless really thankful and really thinks that the course has set her up very positively, very well for her choice, which is an apprenticeship, because of the fact it has given her those broad transferable skills that I've just mentioned. So the analysis, the fluency of writing, the attention to detail, the kind of the self-reflection as well, being able to be self-critical about your ideas. These are all really good skills. So the final thing I'm going to say about it, just a little bit, I'm going to try as much as I can to limit myself on this, because it's in our nature as teachers just to want to talk about our subjects. But what text do I study? So the novel that you study, and I'm going to focus on the literary text here. The novel you study is called The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So it's a novel written in the 1920s in America. It's a reflection on society. It's a reflection on the kind of the lavish, indulgent, hedonistic lifestyle led by the rich, very much at the expense of the poor. And so that kind of, that social inequality allows us to kind of reflect on other times too, and arguably even our own. It's also a novel which is kind of reflecting quite bitterly on the American dream and on the fact that the American dream was never truly realised, and offers fascinating opportunities for doing just that and looking at how that plays out, because the narrator gives us some interesting views on the main character Gatsby and whether he and if you like the nobility, the purity of his dream. So that's our novel. Our poetry text, which is the second text we study in the first year, is The Wits and Weddings by Philip Larkin. So Philip Larkin is a poet who reflects a lot on his kind of life choices. And so it's a lot about personal relationships. There is some kind of social and cultural commentary in there as well. But first and foremost for me, he's a fantastic technician as a poet. I think the way that he really dexterously kind of selects words and techniques, I think is brilliant. I think you'll learn a lot about poetry by looking at Philip Larkin. So that leads us to our drama text, and that is a text that we study in the second year, and this is a text by Tennessee Williams called A Streetcar Named Desire. It's a really explosive play, again an American text written in 1947, and this is about culture clash. This is about Tennessee Williams, who identified with the Old South, finding himself confronted by the New South. So the Old South, this kind of place where kind of romantic traditions and manners still apparently existed. There's an argument it was always a bit of an illusion anyway. But he nevertheless seems to identify with this Old South more so than the New South, which is this mechanized, kind of profit-driven, efficient, muscular, brutal kind of New South. And it's about the conflict between those two things. And we can have all sorts of interesting conversations about kind of the depiction of mental health, about the depiction of masculinity, which really, and that really underlines the relevance of the play to right now as well. Okay, well, I think I've taken enough of your time, so thank you for your attention. And if you've got any further questions, then please do let me know. If you could email the college. I just mentioned at the top it's about A-level English language and literature, then I'd be really pleased to hear from you and pleased to get back to you. Okay, thank you.